Hi, welcome to the Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Thanks for joining the conversation. What does the yin and yang symbol mean to you? Oscar and I explore the principles of yin and yang and how it applies to martial arts and everyday life. In this episode, we record outside at the Walam Temple to give a bit of ambiance to our YouTube viewers, so apologies for any background noise. We also show off our awesome new koi fish gate that was gifted a few weeks ago to the temple and Grandmaster Chan. Check out the pics and videos online. Oscar also gives some great advice on how to turn that training dial up or down, regardless of the type of fitness or martial arts exercise you're doing. If you've enjoyed hearing us philosophize and get into the martial arts weeds, keep on listening. My favor, as usual, is to please continue to share this podcast with others. It would also mean so much if you would rate it and leave me feedback. If you would like to help keep this podcast going and support the work I do, visit my website or patreon.com/SifuMimiChan to become a patron of the show. For comments or suggestions, reach out on social media at SifuMimiChan. Now, on with the show. Hello, everybody. And mostly hello, Oscar.
Hello, Mimi.
How are you?
I'm doing good.
We're in a different location today. It's very exciting.
It is. It's a louder location.
Notice anything different? I know. Hopefully our mics are working for those of you listening to this podcast. Apologies. And apologies to Jake, who's going to have to take out the background noises of cars in the background and maybe even the waterfall. Although the waterfall might be ambient.
It's ambient, and also it may help you, run to the bathroom from drinking water.
I actually feel like I need to go to the bathroom, to be honest. But in any case, I digress. We are at the Walam Temple right now. So for those not watching, but listening, and also for those watching going, where is that? I have not seen that before. There's something new. We are standing in front of what is just an amazing piece of art and work, hard work by Sifu Leroy. And it is a yin-yang koi fish gate that is now actually going to be kind of a decorative backdrop structure for our outdoor patio where we do Tai Chi and Kung Fu. It aligns with our koi fish pond and our bamboo forest. And it's just awesome because you and I always drive in this side gate right here. We call it the Walam Bat Cave. Special secret entrance. And now when I drive in, I see the fish. And when I'm inside the temple, even teaching class, I look over to the right and I see the fish. And it's super exciting. And just today, I thought we would talk about two things, gratitude and kind of what this all symbolizes and means, which is, yin and yang, balance. Light and dark and all of that. But let's just marvel at its beauty right now. So
you can do the sound thing. I think the other thing is, even though it's very impressive, there is one negative to it.
Okay.
It's distracting.
It's distracting.
It's so amazing that you're like, whoa.
So the kids are out here doing Kung Fu.
Yeah.
And they're like,
just staring at it.
This because they're just staring at the gate. So we should just have them face the gate and do their Kung Fu.
Yeah,
okay.
Exactly.
Well, to be continued, because spoiler alert, there's going to be more to this.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, this isn't even the complete vision. There's going to be, if you see these panels in here, there's going to be some more things happening. So it is art in progress.
Very impressive.
Very impressive. So huge shout out and huge gratitude to Sifu Leroy and his love of not just Walam martial arts, but of Grandmaster Chan, my dad, the Chan family. He's just literally able to show his love through the work that he did with this, which is absolutely gorgeous. So those of you who are only listening, I urge you to at least
just watch this part.
Just watch this part, or at least just kind of look at the snippets that we put online and stuff, so you can kind of see the glory of the fish gate. Are we calling it?
We can call it the fish gate.
Fish gate, koi gate.
Anytime you put a gate behind something, it has a negative connotation.
Mun, we can call it Leiyu Mun, which is a double meaning actually. And my Cantonese is not very good, but Leiyu Mun is like the window door gate of the fish, which is also an awesome harbor in Hong Kong
Right.
to eat fresh seafood.
Correct.
I don't know if those koi fish would like that part of it, but that is what the area is called, which in later years became just really expensive. But it is where I think all that origins of like, oh, you pick your fish and you
Right.
see the tanks and everything, and it's a street in Hong Kong where you can get all that food, which you and I
We'll be
hopefully partaking in soon. So yeah,
I don't think the koi
Leguan. I think
fish,
that's what my dad called it.
the koi fish won't mind because usually they're not eaten. So they'll be they'll be swimming, and then the other seafood
That's
will be
true.
eaten.
The koi fish don't usually, they're
Right.
not on the menu.
Right, exactly.
Okay, so what else are you grateful for, Ask? Since we did just do a gratitude not long ago because we recorded, but I think this sparks a different kind of memory.
Well, I guess number one thing that I'm grateful for is you,
Oh.
right here. High five. Second thing I'm grateful for
Yeah.
is that I'm healthy.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much it.
Well,
Actually,
that's not all you're grateful for.
No,
but those are
well,
the top.
those are my top two things that I'm
Top
always
two things.
grateful for.
Okay.
And we talked about this just 3 days ago on a Saturday, which was how grateful we are for the assistant instructors of the Wallam Temple who help run a pretty large operation with not just the amount of students that we have, the different amounts of classes, the different levels of the students, participating in shows, in performances, in competitions. And so that is something that I'm very grateful for, because when I am tired and I come out and think, oh, I've got to teach class, and then you look, oh, classes are covered. That is something to be very grateful for. Yeah.
Okay. When you're tired.
Every day. I'm very grateful for them.
Awesome. I'm grateful for them too. And it's actually quite amazing now that we are standing here. It's kind of the middle of the day. Unfortunately, there is still a lot of traffic, but it is kind of a quieter time of the day. It's like the calm before the storm, before students come in for classes. And it's kind of a moment where we're like, oh, okay, this is the temple.
Right.
Right? We can kind of hear things. Those of you who practice meditation, or you do where you close your eyes and you do the sensory practice and you listen for what's the loudest thing you hear, what's the softest thing you hear. And the loudest thing is usually the traffic.
Loud muffler.
Yeah, but sometimes the music of the drivers that come by, and they're like
Heavy bass.
heavy bass and loud music. But it's interesting because at this time of the day, we can really be mindful of hearing what the temple is like. And it brings up, for me in particular, a lot of nostalgia, because this was the time I would be about done with school.
Right.
So it's like the after school time. I talked about it a bit at the lecture that I gave over the anniversary weekend in early October. And it just really reminds me of that time frame, because I guess the temple always smells like the temple. I don't know how to explain that, and if that's a good thing or a bad thing. Like post class, we don't want to talk about the smells, but generally in the day, it's just kind of got this foresty, open, and if you're not too close to the road, getting carbon monoxide poisoning, like just kind of this feel to it. Or if at lunch, it was when my dad was cooking, and
Right.
you could smell those things. So the smell. You look at the temple, and it has changed over the years. You know, now the patio is bigger. Now there's this over there. There's different things that have changed, but essentially the sounds to me are always super consistent, because
Right.
I hear the water running. There's no sound, but as soon as like kids class starts coming in, you hear the sound of the kids warming up. Then you hear Kung Fu class. And I remember, actually, speaking of Sifu Leroy, who built the gate, was one of the things he most remembers is the sound of the temple, which was when before you would enter into the two front doors. We should actually take you guys on that tour, but we would
should.
enter those front two doors. Let's do it. We're
Right
gonna
now?
grab the camera right now, and you're going to come with us, those of you on YouTube. All right, so Oscar's going to be Cam, and we're going to go this way. So you would enter the front two doors, and we don't even know who's in the office right now, so it'll be a bit of a surprise. But we would enter those front doors, and back in the day, there was walls. It wasn't as open as it is now. Mics are still working and picking up the sound for those of you listening, our podcast. But I think the sound of the temple is a really interesting thing as we talk about martial arts and our senses and just kind of what all of that in relationship is. And basically, this kind of leads us into our next topic, which is the yin and the yang of like all of our different senses and kind of having that balance, right? Because a little bit later on today, it's going to be really loud. Right. And right now we've kind of got the yin going, and later on, I think it's the yang where it's like chaos and crazy.
Yin is my MO.
Your MO is yin. I'm feeling a bit of the yang energy. I'm not going to lie.
Yeah, I just like things to be even keeled, smooth, stress-free. It's kind of my style.
Okay.
Doing things. Mm-hmm.
So talk to me, because there's the principles of yin and yang are obviously super popular.
Right.
For a lot of reasons. There's
Star Wars.
Okay.
I'm just kidding. I don't even like Star Wars. I don't know why I said that.
There's feng shui. There's tai chi. There's bakwa. There's like all these different elements of just Asian culture that kind of utilize that symbol. I think I've even seen it in like surfing symbols. It's just super popular. That black and white with the dots, you know, representing. What does it mean to you when you first kind of remember seeing it for the first time?
The first time I've seen that, all I could think is some type of Asian culture.
Okay.
That it had to do.
It for you, it was very remnant of Asian culture because it's
just because you would see it in
kung fu movies.
Kung fu movies, yeah, based probably, you know, Saturday morning kung fu movies. But I'm trying to think, probably as a teenager going to like a flea market and seeing one and almost being like, oh, I'm going to buy this. And why did I want to buy it? I don't know.
You were drawn to it.
Because I thought it was cool looking, but I didn't really understand that the balance of it, of what it meant. Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's my first thought that I can think of.
Okay.
That I can remember.
For me, literally, as long as I can remember, I've seen the symbol because of the martial arts reference. And if I was a more prepared podcaster, I mean, I could just, you know, walk and get my notes and kind of read the specific definition.
Go ahead.
Of the yin and the yang for our viewers, you'll see. But we actually have one over here, black and white, which isn't just the fish, the koi fish, right? We have the black and the white symbol.
In pristine condition.
It's a little dated, not gonna lie. It's a little dated.
It's not that it's dated, it's just weathered. It's an outside, it's a piece of wood that's outside.
Florida, and it's also symbolic of the 43 years that this building has been here. Now that hasn't been here for 43 years, right? That has been here a little bit longer.
Right.
I mean, a little bit, not as long as 43 years.
Right.
It was built after, you know, because this even structure hadn't been there that long. But those of you who are on YouTube and just saw me do that quick pan, that patio is very new. Like, very, very new. So basically, I'll read it out. The yin yang is a concept originated in Chinese philosophy that describes the opposite but interconnected, mutually perpetuating forces. So cosmology, I guess is the word, Chinese cosmology. So the universe creates itself out of a primary chaos of material energy organized into the cycles of yin and yang and formed into objects and lives. So yin is receptive while yang is active. And then, you know, there's all sorts of other examples, seasonal cycles, landscape evolution, male and female, formation of character of individuals, socio-political history and disorder. Of course, in Tai Chi, it's really popular because you really have that kind of, I guess, feeling of chi and energy and life force that's happening. And the black areas representing, the black areas representing the yin and the white areas representing the yang in Taijutsu, which is a particular yin yang symbol. I've never heard of that.
I haven't heard of that either. Taijutsu sounds Japanese.
It does. It does. Supreme Ultimate, we know that,
Right.
is, of course, Tai Chi. And really, it's probably what we associate it mostly with, which is that martial kind of symbolism. And I think in traditional Chinese medicine, there's a central principle as well. And in Chinese martial arts, of course, we have that breathing. And this is all from Wikipedia.
Right. So you know that in
Taoist.
Wikipedia, you could probably trust it 100%. But, you can't really trust everything you read on Wikipedia. But I will say that they do try to update it and have some form of collaboration where people are going in and editing, an editing type of process. So, you can get your start there. I would say, just as with anything else, further research can be involved to help give you a deeper understanding of what you're doing. So if you just read an article, or a book, that's one way to do it. But really, living life is what yin and yang is, right? So when I look at it now, after doing Kung Fu and Tai Chi, you notice that it's in pretty much all the movements, right? You can't really throw a punch without that first impulse of yang, right? Of like power, to then immediately switch to the yin to relax as the strike is traveling, to then switching again to that strong. So that's that kind of pulse of in strength training and with some different principles of martial arts, obviously, but also with strength training that I do, there has to be a balance of tension and relaxation. They're both like the same. They're two opposite sides of the performance coin. So if you look at the coin, tension and relaxation, that's the yin and the yang. And as you do any kind of movement practice, you'll notice that there's a little bit of it in each.
Yeah, so I read the Wikipedia for kind of fun, which is why I didn't even prepare with it, because I think anybody who's really interested could literally like go down the rabbit hole, read feng shui books, go through, decide what it all means. But I was really excited to have a conversation with you because I love talking to you, but also because this kind of inspired me as I've been looking at it for the last few weeks. And I was thinking about, yes, like in Kung Fu in particular. So obviously as a martial artist, as a Kung Fu Sifu, I think about the movement, and like you were describing, like in a straight punch, you have that kind of relaxation before the explosion of power. And even within the Wallum system, we consider some of our moves quote unquote hard and some of them soft. So like we've got a soft movement like a mantis hook or something like that, where we consider it soft because it has that fluidity and the chi direction isn't so like linear and impacting. So like a soft move, but it's usually followed by like a hard move, right? So where you have that hard and soft, that soft and hard kind of balancing one another out, but that's also like the attack and the defend.
Right.
And it's like, do you have a defend, without the threat of an attack, or the attack? Like, it's interesting because it's that chicken and egg, like what comes first, or what can one exist without the other type of thought process. And as martial artists, we can break down movements. We can talk about like, how does that apply physically and as a strength trainer? But I think it's really interesting, and something that I like to theorize, quote unquote, about is how then all the principles in martial arts, how does that play out in our daily lives? And we used to do the Kung Fu pods. Promise we're going to try to get back to those.
You promise that we're going to try to get back to those. I like that.
Non-committal, I know. But basically, like, how can we apply that to our daily life, right? And so for me, I know that I've talked about the yin and the yang, the life, and like, okay, we can work hard, play hard. I think lately it's more like we should try to be playing hard and working efficient. I don't know.
I like it. Playing hard and working efficiently. Sure.
Right? And so like, how do we find that balance in our daily activities? Because no one ever believes me. Oscar can attest. I'm a very clumsy person because I'm always trying to do too many things, maybe too quickly, or maybe just in a rush or not hyper focused on what I'm doing. So I run into walls, and
I think the walls, furniture is always, it's trying to attack you.
It's basically attacking me, those corners of the table.
What comes first, you defending or yourself, or the furniture attacking you?
Usually it's the counterattack or just me yelling ow really loud from the other side of the house and you wondering what happened. But basically I feel like even in just something as simple as making a cup of tea, for me, I need to think, okay, let's bring it down and let's utilize the soft and not feel so rushed, being more intentional about it. And so it's definitely a principle, I think, that without even realizing it, I'm always trying to apply, like have some balance. And because I'm so pulled in that yang energy, like I'm always trying to apply, more of the yin, more of the tai chi side, more of the relaxation side.
Yeah, that actually makes perfect sense, because in the past few months I've been trying to do more, like have a more yang style or a more aggressive approach towards even how I conduct business, right? Like,
yep.
And I don't like it because it's not my nature. So I don't like, for example, this morning we have the opportunity on Tuesday mornings to not have something on our schedule. So we were able to wake up, see the sun rising, and spend some time outside. And before I started being a little bit more, to use my own words, aggressive in, let's say, marketing implementation, right, for Wallam and for my business, it's like I would be like, oh, I got plenty of time. I can work out now. I can do all these other things that bring me joy but it's very passive, because that's just what my style is. I feel that even this morning, I couldn't enjoy it as much because I was thinking, oh wait, I got all these things that are on my checklist to do. And so I don't like that feeling, but it's almost like I put them on there for a reason. So I guess I had to do them. And I've been thinking a lot about this lately, because I don't know if in the long term for my, maybe the overused term, for my mental health or for my overall life satisfaction, if it's worth it to be continuously pursuing an improvement in this business side. I think there has to be a moment maybe where that takes a little bit of a backseat and then I enjoy more. So I probably was too much on the other side of just enjoying, and I need to find the balance back. And I think the opposite is true for you, where you're so used to pushing that you find it strange when you have to relax.
Yeah, so it's weird though, because once I get into relaxation mode, or I'm finally on vacation where I'm pulled out of a situation and I'm not where I can even be engaged, I don't ever want to go back to quote unquote work or the real life. And you always say, but if we don't do that, then we won't appreciate this part. And so it's like, you do have to have both, right? I really want to touch on something you just said, which was the overused term of mental health. And that just frustrates me, like the words self-care and mental health. And it frustrates me that becomes overused. And I guess it's because people will take it and not beat it to death, but basically maybe even hyper interpret it in a way that, not that it becomes negative, but that it's just, I guess maybe people can perceive it as negative because it's like just too much, like the word woke even, right? Like, why do things have to become overused when it is your mental health? Like, I don't understand. I guess this is a social media society thing or whatever, but I don't understand why we have to then, veer away from overusing a term or something like that.
I don't know. I think that's just the way that I speak. I'm always cautious of when I say something to make sure that people are interpreting it a certain way.
Well, that's what I mean though, right?
Yeah.
Like,
where I could be wrong. Sometimes I think you say it and you're like, no, you feel that it's the right thing to say. I don't process that way. So I don't process always that what I'm saying is the right thing. So I always have, a caveat in front of it, or I say things like overused, but I don't know. I mean, you know me, in essence, I don't really care, I guess, about like, about whether it's overused or not. I just try to, when I'm communicating I try to see if people can perceive what I'm saying in the best way possible. but just like anyone else, right? And so,
Yeah.
so in saying that, I think maybe I say too many. I put in too many things of like overused or.
But do
whatnot.
we think mental health is overused?
Probably not. I mean, I don't know. Maybe some people do, but I don't. I guess I said that, but I don't really care if people use it or not.
Right. I'm kind of at the root of the why you felt the need to clarify, not to me, obviously, but it's to listeners, right? Where we don't want to frustrate anybody or anything like that. I don't know, but I feel like, and this may be a whole nother tangent podcast, whatever, but why do we get to a point where it's difficult to express something without having to be so careful? And I think it is important to be mindful of people's feelings and ensuring that we are inclusive. I mean, as somebody who works in social justice, I get terminology matters, but I think frustration for me is where sometimes we can just call something what it is, and that has to be that can be okay. And I think I get frustrated with people who just want to nitpick and dissect things,
Right.
to where like, oh, there's Oscar overusing the word mental health. I mean, I don't think anybody would actually say that. But by the way, I did want to say thank you. And I should have been a better podcaster and written down, but we had some comments on YouTube. We had some people that actually gave us feedback on recent podcasts, and we've been asking for that, and we super appreciate it. So I will be better about writing that down. But it's been really nice to hear how like our imposter syndrome episode made a difference in just having a thought process for somebody, or that it connected with them. So thank you for that. Really, really appreciate it. Those affirmations and validation is very nice.
Yeah. What I remember is multiple people talking about the imposter syndrome. I had a client of mine actually just say, thank you for that. She's a teacher. You had a student of yours mention that. And then I think another thing was people are like, yeah, I like those episodes, with Oscar in there, but do more with just you. So that when I was like, exactly.
I don't think it was do more with just me. I think it was specifically some of the history of the Chinese weapons and some of the very specific Kung Fu episodes, which may be that callback to Kung Fu pods that they're actually looking for.
Yeah,
I think we're looking for Kung Fu pods. For example, how we were talking about hard and soft earlier, I think they would really appreciate the technique discussions and maybe like why we consider something hard and soft, but that's super specific to Walam. So we probably wouldn't do that as a podcast, but I think it's always interesting to talk about martial arts in general and origin and history and things like that. And so I just wanted us to finally be at the temple, to have a little bit of an atmosphere change, a little scenery change.
What's nice is the weather is glorious.
Right.
And also there's no mosquitoes right now that I haven't gotten bit yet.
At the moment, I mean, you notice that I am kind of fidgeting just in case, but I will say for our gentle viewers and listeners, the reason it takes so much more effort to come to the temple to record and everything is exactly that. It is so hot. It's stifling and you can't even breathe. But today it's like a cool 70.
The heat is not that big of a deal. As if we were stationary.
And the mosquitoes will come and destroy you.
If we were doing a podcast in the summertime,
we would literally just be hitting ourselves the whole time.
And we were stationary.
Like as if we were applauding for ourselves, which it wouldn't be that. It'd literally be us just smacking our arms and legs because it can be, and they bite through pants. And long sleeve shirts. So
I think that's the biggest hindrance to coming here and doing things more often.
Mutant mosquitoes.
Yeah, the mosquitoes are winning. One other thing I was thinking about, since with kind of the yin and the yang and how people kind of all interrelated, how people perceive what you say and comments that we get. There was a request from one of our students for this workshop that actually Sifu Liwei did, which was a self-defense application move, which he calls a 3-tap, which is really for like perception, awareness, feeling. You could translate that to a martial arts type of application, but you could also just keep it as kind of like seeing with your arms is one way that he described it.
Nice.
But I can't help but bring up that I was finding that link for a student, and so it made me re-look at the video, and then I was scrolling down the comments, and inevitably, whenever you see any martial arts videos, there's always going to be someone who comments, this is all BS, the truth is only in like the UFC, do any of you want to challenge in the octagon? No, I don't think so. Things like that. And so that, it makes me think, you know, about the stuff that we're talking about, but that is someone who is only focused on one thing. Like when you look at how
We're just a troll.
Yeah, no, it's okay. So yeah, definitely it's probably a troll, right? But what I mean is, there are people who really believe that probably believe that.
Oh yeah,
but
100%.
that's someone who is only focused on one part, so they're not looking at the nuance in that yin yang philosophy, right?
Yeah.
That yes, we've seen the efficacy of certain styles and the inefficacy of other styles when it comes to combating in
a still controlled environment.
In a still controlled environment.
Yeah.
And if that's what you wanted to do, you could pursue that path.
Yeah.
But it should not devalue skills that you learn from other styles, especially when they're being promoted in a way of like, hey, this is just something that's out there for information. There was no claim in that video that it's like, this is the only way to do it.
This is the technique to take down your mortal enemy and to defend yourself from an intruder, right?
So I don't want it to end on a negative side, but it's unfortunate that the comments like that are made. One, probably just a troll, right? Just someone who wants a reaction. But two, I think comments like that are made sometimes by someone who has some kind of issue with themselves. And unfortunately, they've got to put negative stuff out into the world. Because we were just talking about yesterday, is like, why do people got to just, like, you can make a comment. You and I can make comments when we watch something.
Yeah.
But then for us to record a video or to go online and type something that's negative.
That's a lot of effort.
It's so much effort. It's so much easier to put out something positive. And I don't know. I guess that's just what I wanted to say.
I think it's interesting just because it is so much effort to go out of your way to be so cruel and mean and unkind. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't say it's easy to put something out that's positive necessarily, but I think it would be easy to be kind and respectful by just even not saying anything, even if that's what you're thinking, right? Because
to hold your thought for a second.
And also let it be your own. Mm-hmm. This is my whole thing with social media, but here I am podcasting and on YouTube and doing this whole thing. Total hypocrite, right? But I realize I'm not going to let them stop me from the people who have told me how much they benefit. I think the last podcast we recorded, I talked about how many people came up and told me it was important for them. Things that we've talked about, things I've talked about with other podcast guests, and it really meant something of very deep value. Just people coming up and telling me the work that I'm doing, etc. So I'm definitely not going to take away from that positive energy because of one or two negative comments, which is probably just a troll. But to kind of touch on something that you and I were talking about in terms of balance and martial arts and how we deal with our daily lives and just wrapping that all up, we also get comments from students that say, oh, our Kung Fu class, it was too easy for me that day. So, and you and I always have a real field day with this because it's interesting. Like, we can walk through life with whatever lens we decide we're going to see it through, and also what effort we're going to put in. But it's interesting, and I know that clients of yours would even say something like, "Oh, I don't feel sore. I'm not tired."
It's frustrating only if the expectation hasn't been made. So I think if a brand new student were to say that, then you just have to understand, oh, they have no idea even how to. They have no self-awareness of their own body to make something that is a beginner type of movement more challenging. It's frustrating when it's someone who's been training for years, because then that goes to show there has been a failure on our side of the communication to communicate what, how this is how you can do it, and also to teach them. But then on for that student also to take their own accountability that they don't know themselves well enough, because when something physical, all it takes is a little bit more inner tension, a little bit more focus, leverage, body position, intention, like mental you could mentally make things harder. The mind-body connection, mind-muscle connection, all of those things are things that will never be perfected in our journey, but that you could take your whatever was your first class, and then 10 years down the road, you repeat that exact same class, and you could make it extremely hard or medium or easy. It depends on what you need for that day. And so I actually wrote something recently to our students where I encourage them to try to explore that within themselves, because it would make them much better martial artists. And also they could realize, you know what, last night my kid kept me up all night, they were crying, then I woke up, I was stressed, I had a long day at work. Okay, this isn't my normal Kung Fu class, but I'm going to make it easier for myself because I've already had so much stress. Or on the flip side, man, I'm really feeling good. This is my normal Kung Fu class, but I'm going to push myself harder with these things, with these skills, and this can be a really challenging class. And that's just a skill. And so it's the frustrating part is when someone says that, who is quote unquote an intermediate or advanced student, because it shows lack of awareness on their side, and it shows a lack of our properly teaching them and communicating and educating them on our side.
Yeah, 100%. I think that we need to learn how to be independent martial artists or fitness professionals, or not professionals, but even just someone who's training in fitness and learning about our body in a way of which we should be able to turn that dial up or down. And it's not about the class or the exercise, it's about the intention and what you are putting into it. Like
Right.
you said, I think it's just a silly statement to begin with, because it means there wasn't any thought first, right? Like,
So let's leave anyone who's listening, and maybe potential students or non-students, with something actionable they can do, which ties in the yin and the yang, making class harder, self-awareness, all of that. While you were explaining your thing just now, over the course of 30 seconds, I fluctuated between just being standing here and relaxed, to medium intensity tension, to the highest tension that I could make, so that you could, did you notice or no?
no, but I wasn't paying.
You weren't paying attention to that. Right. So what I'm saying is that by just focusing my intention and the inner tension of my body, I could make standing really, really challenging.
Right.
So there's no way that someone can just take any other movement practice and do that and just adjust it. So one of the things that it starts with
just because
is,
they haven't learned yet.
yeah, just because I haven't learned. One of the things that it started with is just me kind of getting my pelvis under me, starting to pull my ribs down, and then starting to build tension from the center out, and then driving my feet into the floor, squeezing my glutes. I was trying to see how much tension can I build from the center out, but not let it creep to my extremities so that you wouldn't notice. I don't know.
Suddenly, everyone on camera watches Oscar just like passes out.
Yeah.
I wonder why. It's because he was putting so much tension.
And then I
into
kind
his
of
body.
and then I relaxed, but tried not to change my position.
Yeah.
So it's a skill that I'm practicing. It's just one that I'm practicing. So that's just what I wanted to say.
Awesome. So listeners, viewers, there wasn't much to physically watch, but something for us to think about is we can turn that dial up and down on everything we do in life. And it's super important to keep that balance. I think it's always helpful for me to have these conversations as a reminder of what I need to be doing. And sidebar, sad news, everyone, but I did get, I think, 2 mosquito bites out here, which means it's time to wrap it up. So again, huge gratitude. I want to point out also there's gold glitter on the koi fish, which is amazing. Huge gratitude to Sifu Leroy for this, who's my younger Kung Fu brother. And I love it so much. And it brings such joy every time I see it. It's super positive in my life. So thank you for that. And thank you all for watching. It's shout out also to all my patrons. I have some fun things coming for you soon. I'm saying it out loud so you hold me accountable, but I have some new offers that I'm going to be putting out there for things just like what Sifu Oscar Agramonte just shared, which is some fitness tips, things that you can be doing in your daily life, how to integrate certain types of martial arts training every day. I think we have some programs that are available, or habit building, things like that if you are a patron, you might get some access to, or if you want to be a patron, we're going to build some things out to give more opportunity for those of you that are actually paying attention, watching and asking questions, engaging and wanting to learn more. So it's also going to help keep us accountable in getting things done for you. So thanks for watching today, and As always, Oscar, thank you so much. My favorite person and
Pleasure.
co-host. Bye.
That's all for today's episode. Thanks for listening to The Sifu Mimi Chan Show. Please subscribe and rate my podcast on your platform of choice and leave a review. You can become a patron of the show at patreon.com/SifuMimiChan to help keep this podcast going. Follow me and interact on social media at Sifu Mimi Chan on Instagram, Twitter, or Facebook.